What's up, guys? This is Brave, and I'm back with another review of Readytolove. This is season 5, episode 5, and let's go ahead and talk about it. So, actually, I want to start off with a few bits from the last episode because I did not do a review on it. But let me just say this. Carrie, you kind of played yourself because you did not need closure when it came to the situation with Tyrone. There's no way that I'm going to let a man tell me that he don't want me twice. No, thank you. You already told me that over the phone. There's no way that we needed to have this whole meeting for closure so that he can reiterate why he don't want you. No, thank you. Now, because I feel like Tyrone may have been her only connection, yeah, she was pretty much scrambling because when she was trying to have that conversation with Dante, I feel like Dante did not have any interest in her at all, because even when they were like doing the little workout or whatever, and she was trying to be like, oh, I want to be sweaty, I want to be this and that, I feel like he had already put her in the homegirl category. That was already there. I feel like he actually wanted to talk to Shiloh, but Phil beat him to the punch and pulled Shiloh into the next room. Yeah, and unfortunately, Carrie, she was the person who went home, but honestly, I don't feel like her person was there. Now, there's about 2 more things that I want to point out from the last episode, maybe 3. So, one being Walter. You guys, I'm sorry, but Walter is a walking red flag for me. I feel like that man has a sad sob story for everything that has happened in his life. So that way, the women are just like, oh, poor Walter, that happened to you. I'm so sorry. Because that conversation that he had with Mamine about how his dad wasn't in his life, I said, okay, first we had to deal with the wife, passing away. Then when they were going to have a child, that's when they found out that the wife was going to pass away. You have the story about his dad now. I'm just like, you have a sad sob story for every situation. I find it to be very interesting, Walter. So I feel like he's definitely one to watch. Also, where was Sabrina the entire episode? We did not get any dates with Sabrina. Hopefully, on this next episode, not even 5, I'm talking about episode 6, hopefully we do get to see Sabrina go out on some dates. Another thing, Corey. You guys, I know that we hate Corey and we see what type of slime ball that Corey is. However, I honestly feel like Courtney was really feeling him, especially after that date where they were skating. It was cringeworthy to me, but clearly she has some type of attraction to Corey. And I know that a lot of us felt very uncomfortable when he repositioned himself to stand kind of in between her legs or whatever. But I feel like she liked it. I really do. Because anybody else would have moved away. But clearly she felt comfortable enough to let Corey be there in that space. So, yeah. As corny as we think he is, I honestly feel like a lot of the ladies actually like Corey, unfortunately. Alright, so the last thing that I want to bring up from the last episode, that would be the fact that Frank shaking that drink, you guys, I fell out so many times and replayed it because I thought it was hilarious. I don't know if he was doing the chicken head, the wop, or the Harlem Shake all at the same time while he was shaking that drink. If I was to see it, I would have bursted out laughing at him in his face. So she is one better than me. She's another one who I feel like her man ain't there. I really don't feel like Tasia has any options on this episode. On this season. But let's go ahead and talk about episode 5, because now the women have the power and they have to decide what guy is going to go home. But Tommy lets them know that, we're going to have a pool party. He loves to have one of those every season. So everyone, they show up, they have on their swimwear. Some of them look really good. Some of them looked all right. That's going to be that. All right, so first thing I want to start with is Corey and Courtney, okay? Because Corey has thought this out, and I cannot lie, you guys, as much as I don't like Corey like the rest of y'all, the gesture that he did was actually very sweet. For him to leave those notes around for her to find, I thought that that was really sweet. Now, if I was her, I probably would have kept it to myself instead of running around like a chicken with my head chopped off, being like, oh my God, I'm finding all these notes. I'm finding all these notes. You guys, look at this. Look at this. Like, she was doing a bit much. That's probably not what I would have done, but the gesture was very sweet. I'm not going to deny that. And I think that is something that Courtney likes about Corey, because he tends to do these sweet gestures, like when he gave her the flowers when they were at the skating rink. He's clearly growing on Courtney. Courtney likes Corey. As corny as we think that he is, there is something about him that is clearly charming her. Now, keep in mind, you still have Mumin there. And that is basically his number 2 girl. Or maybe these women may be neck and neck, right? The one thing about this is that I feel like, even though this was a very nice gesture, this should have been something that he did with her on a date. Not so much with everybody around, because it looks very messy, because you have Mumin, who you're also interested in, is going to get back to her, and then she's going to feel some type of way because you didn't put no notes out for her. Also, one thing that I do want to mention, though, is that even though he went on his first date with Mumin, she has been out with other people, and also Courtney was the first woman that he met, and I think that was the first one who really caught his eye, because he has been wanting to, take Courtney out and woo her since he first met her. But let's go ahead and move on. We finally saw Sabrina. She was talking to Walter. I have no idea what they were talking about. All in all, she was opening up her legs to him. I was like, okay, girl, you doing a lot, but whatever. All right, now, y'all, let's go ahead and talk about Tyrone, because, baby, he actually shocked me this episode, because I don't know where any of this came from. But then I have to circle back to some things that happened in the past 2 episodes, I guess you could say. So, he's having this conversation with Shiloh. And Shiloh was telling us that, they've been having FaceTimes and phone conversations, but they still have yet to have a one-on-one date. They have yet to have a one-on-one date, right? But he's telling her that basically he chooses her. He can see her being his wife. I said, first of all, what's funny to me is that you're falling head over heels for Shiloh when Shiloh has given every man the same energy. She gives every man that sensual, sexual energy, so they all kind of fall for her. And also, she kind of has an advantage in that because she's an intimacy coach, whatever that means. But it's working clearly because all the guys are falling for her. I just feel like Tyrone is in over his head, and clearly he does not date a lot because he's moving entirely too fast. So this circles back, you guys, though, to episode 3 when Carrie was, talking about how he was very cold towards her and everything. And when Shiloh piped up, it was like, oh yeah, I talked to him after that or whatever. To me, now I'm just like looking back and I'm just like, wait a second. So he literally hangs up the phone with Carrie, calls Shiloh out here trying to pillow talk and be like, dang, I just had to diss this girl, blah, blah, blah. She relays the message to Carrie, being like, oh girl, he just didn't know if he can handle having more than 2-3 interests or whatever. I'm sorry, but the way Shiloh was telling her that, it was kind of like how you guys know how some of the guys, they kind of become friends with the girls. They're not exactly their interests. They are just kind of friends with them. That was the vibe that I got from that moment with Carrie and Shiloh having that conversation. I didn't think that he was romantically calling Shiloh. I think that was my understanding that I got all wrong. I thought that he was calling Shiloh and be like, dang, like, I just had to let Carrie know that I wasn't feeling her like that no more. I thought it was on that vibe. Not so much of a, yeah, I got rid of Carrie, so my space opened up for you to be a potential. I just think that is very interesting. On top of that, again, they've never been out on a date. What happened to Zadia? Because I thought he had interest in her. Didn't they go meet up in a park or something? Like, I'm just so confused. I promise you guys, this season has been very confusing for me to watch. Just because, again, these phone conversations, I need to be privy to this information. Because I have no idea who is really into who this season. Because nobody has really, like, solidified, like, ooh, this one is my number one. Because you guys know, like, last season, we did a lot of talk about the numbers. Who's my number one? Who's my number two? We got a lot of that. This season, it's kind of all over the place, and everybody is dating around. And that is one thing that I did kind of like about the resort, was that everybody was there, and they couldn't go anywhere. So there weren't really, like, phone conversations that were happening to where people were changing spots and positions that we didn't see. Of course, there were times when the cameras weren't rolling and, you know, they had like their downtime, like with Winter and old boy, but Winter and Jay, that's who it was, Winter and Jay, but not to the extent of like all these phone calls that are happening and we don't know who's dating who. But anyways, let's go ahead and move on. All right, so now that we have, you know, mingled around with everybody, Tommy comes strolling in. I don't know what that little pajama set was that he had on, but whatever. He lets them know, hey, I'm going to bring in 2 sexy new singles, and he introduces us to Sydney. And I will say she's a very beautiful woman. She has curly hair, nice body. The guys were all into her. I kind of feel like some of the ladies were hating, or at least that's what they made it seem like. And then we also got introduced to Sean. I'm sorry, but they could have kept Sean as far as his like physical, because to me he's not attractive. Yeah, I feel like the women were not impressed. But I will say later on, I did like Sean. But come to find out, Sydney is an entrepreneur. What she does, I'm not sure. And Sean is, I don't know what Sean does. Here's why. Because at one point I could have swore on the bottom of the screen it said journalist. But then he was like, oh, I'm a creative. I create or whatever. I don't know what he does. Hopefully he has a job. I don't know. But at one point, it's him, Zadia, Camille, and I believe Sydney. Yeah, they were all having this conversation. But at one point, it kind of switched to just Sydney and Sean having a conversation. So the other ladies were just like, oh, well, let me go ahead and leave, and, you know, let y'all have y'all conversation or whatever. And I think Sean said something to Camille. And he was like, oh, you can say I'm handsome as well, or something like that. And she was like, oh, well, my boyfriend, he wouldn't feel comfortable with me saying that, or whatever. And, of course, she's already putting claims on Cornelius. And I'm just like, here we go again. Camille, that is not officially your man. Unless he has said something on the phone to where y'all made, like, this pact that y'all was going to ride out together. I'm not understanding the energy. But let's just go ahead and move along. So we actually see Sydney talking to Frank. And come to find out, they sort of kind of know each other. And the reason why I say sort of kind of is because they basically know each other through other people. As in, they probably seen each other around, and they have never, you know, actually met before, but they've actually probably seen each other around and like, oh, my homeboy know her homegirl and something like that. I feel like that's the way they know each other, even though they tried to play it off and make it seem like, oh yeah, we know each other, we're friends. No, y'all not. So moving on from that, this is what I really want to get to, and that is Tyrone having this conversation with Sabrina. One thing that I will say about Sabrina is that she has a really cool personality that I feel like they don't showcase on the show. Like, we haven't seen her go on any dates. I really would like to see how she is. Fingers crossed that's what we get next episode. But she's having this conversation with Tyrone, right? Keep in mind, she has basically said that Tyrone is, in her top. Tyrone lets her know that he is basically choosing Shiloh. Because he literally sat there and was like, yeah, Shiloh could be my wife, so, yeah. Like, and she's like, so you're going to put all your eggs in that one basket. And the crazy part about all this is that I honestly feel like Sabrina knows that he is not nowhere in the top for Shiloh. Even though later on Shiloh made it seem like he was, I don't believe so. I do not believe that he was in the top for her at all. But I'm going to tell y'all why a little bit later when we get closer to the end of the episode. I just think that Tyrone is moving all wrong. Regardless of you feeling Shiloh, yeah, you may like her, but you still need to fill out the other ladies. Because Shiloh is clearly dating around. She is in every man's face flaunting that sensual energy, and they are all falling for it. So, you're playing yourself, dude. But honestly, in that moment, you guys, with Sabrina talking to Tyrone, I felt really bad for her. Because prior to him springing that on her, she was telling him how, she feels so comfortable with him, how they have great conversations, all this stuff, showing that she is very interested in him. For her to shut her down the way that he did. I'm just like, sir, you have no idea of social cues. You don't know how to read the room. Like, the way he just came out was like, yeah, I think Shiloh can be my wife. And, yeah, I'm kind of all in. I'm just like, who does that? But you know what? Moving along. Alright, so we did see Mumin and, what's his name, Corey talking. That's not important. But we also saw Cornelius having a conversation with the new girl, Sydney. Why he do that? Because we already know Camille is over here acting up. Mumin is trying to calm her down. Like, girl, let's just go get in the pool or whatever. She's upset because he's talking to another woman. And again, I keep saying this. I don't know what is happening in these phone conversations that people are convinced that they are together. I'm sorry, but we are already in episode 5 and nobody has tried to commit to anybody. And well, except for kind of Camille and Cornelius, but y'all know what I'm saying. Like, honestly, by episode 5, I feel like most people kind of know what direction they're going into. Because you know how we always say, as viewers, everybody needs to date around, and I feel like this season, that is what they are doing. They're actually continuing to date around to see what person works out best for them, instead of going on, choosing like a top 2, and then focusing on those people. That's what I think is happening this season. But besides that, Cornelius ends up strolling back over there to Camille in his blouse. And I can't lie, I cannot stand that shirt he had on. I hated it. But, he's just trying to check on her. And she spazzes on him. Like, she goes off. She called him a country bumpkin. Called him naive. Talked about how, like, these girls are basically just, like, playing in your face and you are going along with it. Like, she went off on him. I was surprised. Like, and not saying that I was surprised because she went off on him. I was more so surprised that he stood there and took it. I'm just like, sir, the dudes that I know would have just walked away and been like, girl, get out my face. What we're not doing is this. You won't talk to me like that. And whatever we had going on, it's over. But next thing you know, baby girl starts crying after she done went off on him because she can't handle the fact that he's dating other people. Now, you guys already know we all think that she's crazy, but unfortunately, I can kind of understand where she's coming from. Listen, I'm not crazy, I promise. But I think that because in this process, You see whoever you're interested in flirting with somebody else. You see them going out on dates with somebody else. It's a very hard process to process. You get what I'm saying? Like, as cool as we all try to make it seem like we would be, like, man, I wouldn't even be sweating it if my dude's talking, if the guy that I'm interested in is talking to somebody else. Yeah, we be saying that, but honestly, in that situation, I don't know how I would react. I know I wouldn't be how she is, over here crying and going off on him like that, but my feelings would kind of be like, he's interested in her. Wonder what they're talking about. It kind of makes you, like, question, dang, well, how much time did he spend with her? Are they going out on secret dates? What's happening over there? It just makes you question a lot of stuff. And I do feel like, Camille has very insecure tendencies. But on top of that, I don't think that Camille finds any other guy there attractive. Because she has not made any effort to look elsewhere besides Cornelius. And I think that is very interesting. But let's go ahead and move on, because now it is moving, I guess, into the evening where everybody's inside and they're eating. Phil is basically trying to fix his plate, right? And here we have Tasia. She like, oh, baby, I got you, or whatever. She already put a few pieces of fruit on his plate. And I guess now this is them trying to make a little connection between the two. You know what? I would not mind seeing a date between Tasia and Phil. I think that'd be pretty interesting. They may have some things in common, but honestly, I'm not sure if we're going to see that, because I think Tasia might be going home soon. I really do. Even though, not saying that I feel kind of indifferent about her. It's not that I like her or dislike her, but I just don't think that her guy is there, to be honest with you. I don't see it for Tasia. Actually, there's a couple of other ladies who I feel like their guy is not there. But let's just go ahead and move on. So we actually see Aisha having a conversation with Sean. They seem to be hitting it off. And you know what? I did like them, talking and having a moment together, because everything flowed really smoothly. Now, next we have Courtney and, I want to say Cornelius, not him. Corey. They're talking, he has to tell her that he's the one who left the notes and all this stuff. And you guys, in that moment, she was definitely falling for Corey. I'm not even about to play. She clearly was feeling Corey until he messed things up. But let's go ahead and move on. So we are finally seeing some dates. Thank God the party was over. I mean, it was cute, but it was time for it to be over. So we see Corey, he's meeting up with Mumin, right? First off, Mumin, she already is like over it, because Tasia called her, was like, yeah, so Corey was out here leaving love notes around for Courtney to get. That rubbed her the wrong way. So now she wants to confront Corey about this, right? Like, basically, how is she going to move forward, because she wants to see where he's at. I know a lot of people are not going to like what I'm about to say, but oh well. Here's my only thing about this. This is a dating show, and you can date around with whoever you want to date around with. Okay, so he did a nice gesture for Courtney. Okay. This is not any different than you going out with Walter, in my mind, because at the end of the day, all of y'all are dating around, and none of y'all has said, oh, you know what? I'm going to start focusing on this person. I'm going to focus on these 2, 3, or how many ever people. Everybody is dating around on this show. Like, so I don't understand why she's like basically getting so upset with him. Now, the fact that he did not admit that he's the one who did it, and how he was trying to, completely not answer that question, that I would have been frustrated with, for sure. But her initial anger is the fact that he left love notes for Courtney and not for her. That is where all her anger is stemming from. For me, I just feel like she could have handled this differently. Either you could have just kept it pushing, or you could have been like, you know what? I heard you left some love notes for Courtney. Like, are you still interested in me as well? Or was that just you deciding that you're going to push forward on Courtney? Instead of her asking him 11 questions about, so did you write the note? Was it you who actually left the note? Like, and being very like, who'd you leave them for? Like, girl, just be very specific in how you are feeling instead of trying to drag it out of him, because he wasn't going to give you no real answers. Honestly, none of these men are going to give these women real answers when it involves them hurting their feelings. This is no different than when Tyrone told Carrie, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and let you know that I'm not going to move forward with pursuing you. Now, I feel like that right there was his nice way of saying, I'm no longer going to, try to date you. However, because you needed all this closure, then he has to tell you, well, I felt like you was being aggressive. I felt like you was doing this. I felt like you was doing that. Oh, and then the woman feels attacked and be like, oh my gosh, that is not what I am. I'm not aggressive. I'm not this and that. Again, he was trying to be nice and not hurt your feelings the first time. He tried to be nice and be like, I just don't want to move forward with you. It's the same thing. I honestly feel like Corey did a nice gesture for Courtney, but now that Mumin is feeling some type of way, he don't want to make her feel some type of way. So he trying to, not answer the question. He's trying to duck and dodge answering these questions. Because honestly, I do think that Corey would have done something nice for Mumin the same way that he did with Courtney. It probably would have been the same thing, but the gesture still would have been done. I mean, honestly, I commend him because at the end of the day, very few of these guys are really putting in the work and effort to let these ladies feel special. Because at this point, there's him. I want to say Frank was pretty good when he was talking to Aisha about, her kids and all the things that he liked about her. And then there's one other person that I want to talk about that had a date later on in this episode. But besides that, ain't nobody putting in no effort. Walter ain't putting in no effort. I haven't seen Phil. I haven't seen Dante. I haven't seen most of these guys put in any effort. Cornelius, to really show these ladies like, yo, I'm really interested in you. But you know what? Let me go ahead and continue. Now, y'all, at one point in this conversation between Mumin and Corey, he definitely went off into the deep end. Because he basically told her, well, are you ready to meet my family? Because, once you meet my family, that's when we can go ahead and dive deeper. What? Corey, what the hell are you talking about? Because the last time that I checked, that's a part of the show. At some point, they always meet, family members or friends of the person. I can't remember. It might be both. I think they meet friends as well as family on the show. We ain't there yet. And then another thing that got me was the fact that Mumin is asking him, like, okay, are you saying this to other women or what? First of all, there needs to be some clarification that Corey only has two options, okay? He has Mumin and he has Courtney. Those are his two options. I don't know where they keep getting these other women. There is no plural, okay? Well, I mean, it's two of them, but y'all know what I'm trying to say. But he's telling her, like, I'm asking you to meet my parents. And of course, that was him deflecting. But at the same time, considering all of this is new, they've all only known each other for like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. He probably asked Courtney as well to meet his family. Would we really be surprised? No. So Mumin is like, well, because I wouldn't want all the guys to meet my family or whatever. And here's the thing. Corey is like, listen, I don't worry about what you doing with Walter over there. I don't worry about when he holding your hands or he got his arm around you, all this stuff, right? And she's like, no, that's not the same. Technically, that is the same. You are sitting in that person's face and you're having interest in somebody else. That is technically the same thing. Him doing a special gesture for Courtney is him showing that he has interest in somebody else and it's in your face. It's pretty much the same thing, sweetheart. Sorry. So that date ended with her having clarification that she wanted to send him home. Moving on, we see this double date between Cornelius and Camille and who was it? Sydney and Dante. Of course, Sydney and Dante, they had interest in each other. Dante definitely gave her way more play than he gave Carrie because he opened up about how he was homesick after moving from Chicago to DC. And, you know, she talked about how she moved here. I mean, not moved here. I do not live in DC. How she moved to DC and blah, blah, blah. They had a cute little conversation. Now let's jump on over to Cornelius and Camille. And basically what we got out of this was the fact that she is definitely his number one pick. And she apologized to him for all the negative things that she said to him. And, you know, he accepted the apology. He still wants to, you know, see what's out there with the other ladies. But I think at this point, he just needs to go ahead and accept that if you're going to go ahead and move forward with Camille, just drop the idea of the other ladies. Just go ahead and drop that idea. Unless you're going to send Camille home and then try to flourish around with everybody else. That's the only way that's going to work, baby boy. All right, guys. So here goes the date where I said a guy actually put in effort. And that will be between Aisha and Sean. He gave her some flowers and he's like, okay, well, there's some white roses, there's this, and also your birth flower is in there. Like, very detail oriented, and for him to like remember her birthday, to research, you know, what her birth flower was, to have that in the bouquet, beautiful. They had a really good conversation, and I was like, wow, like, you know, this may be a potential for Aisha. However, some things got cleared up pretty fast because the conversation about kids, because you already know she already has two. And he's like, yeah, you know, I think I really do want to have kids, even though I'm already 44. I don't know what a 44 is going to do with a newborn, but you know what? I'm not even going to go there. But she's not on that same page. Baby girl is like, listen, I want to get flued out. I'm trying to live my best life. I did the whole mother thing since I was like 20 years old. I am ready to live my best life and be, you know, free. Without the kids. My kids are about to go to college soon. So that is basically where they stand, because even though they had great conversation, they understood each other, the fact that he wants kids and she doesn't, that pretty much ended that possible relationship. And I was like, gosh, that sucked, because I definitely feel like there was a connection there. All right, so let's go ahead and get to the lounge where the ladies are telling us who they like and who they don't like. Starting off with Shiloh, she mentions that she is feeling filled and having a great conversation, as well as Tyrone. My question is, what happened to Dante? Is Dante no longer in the running, Shiloh? But let's go ahead and move along. You have Sydney. She mentions that she had interest in Dante because, you know, they had that great conversation, as well as Frank. Now we have Tasia. She's talking about some, you know, Phil has her interest, even though it's very new. I said, girl, you put a few pieces of fruit on his plate. That's about all. But okay, girl, unless y'all got some phone conversations happening. Who else did they talk to? Courtney. It was finally her turn. And this is when I felt bad for Courtney, because she was actually happy. She was actually smitten by the fact that Corey took the time out to, you know, do these notes and leave them around. She was like, ooh, I can read some of them to you guys. Like, baby girl was actually excited for Mameen to come through and burst her bubble. Because literally we have Courtney who's reading some of these notes, and it was like, you've been my number one since day one. And I will say this, Corey did say, I think like episode 1, that Courtney was the one he had the most interest in. Just saying. I think another one that it said something about her being number one again, or he had a crush on her or something. Can't remember. But all I know is that Mumin is like, well, he told me that I was his number one, blah, blah, blah. Here's the thing. Thinking back on this, I want to know, when did he say that she was the number one? Because if he told her that she was number one after that one date that they had, sure, you were number one at the time. But he finally got to go out with the girl that he wanted to go out with initially, and now he's trying to make moves on that. I don't know, like, I just feel like then me, she starts to like bust it out and be like, well, he told me this, he told me that, blah, 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 blah. And in that moment, you can just see that kind of crushed Courtney. And honestly, she didn't need to know that information, because it's not cool that Corey is running around telling the same information to each girl. But also, I kind of feel like, because Mumin wasn't the girl that was chosen, she decided to go ahead and bust all this information out. Because honestly, she could have just been like, you know what, I'm off him. I'm going to go ahead and move on to somebody else and let him focus on Courtney. But no, that's not what happened. We're going to go ahead and send him home. I don't know. I just feel like he's doing the same thing that a lot of other people are doing. They're moving around. They're dating everybody. And it just is what it is. But because we all already can't stand Corey, it's just like, all right, it's time for him to go. But whatever. All right, now let's go ahead and talk about who the ladies are not feeling. We have the new girl saying that she's not feeling, I think it was Cornelius, because he had her little brother vibes. I said, that's funny, because Camille was sure worried about him having a conversation with you. And she also wasn't feeling Corey. We already know Zadia, she ain't messing with Corey. Who else was there? I think somebody said Frank. I can't remember who it was. But here comes all the ladies. They're just like, I'm not feeling Sean. I felt bad for him, because I was like, dang, he knew it ain't nobody liking him. That sucks. So I was like, dang, there's a chance that he may be going home. But of course, y'all know Corey had to be brought up to be going home. None of the ladies like Corey like that. Especially now that this new information has come about. All right, so also, they were not feeling Tyrone. Of course, Sabrina, she says this first because he basically shut her down, was like, hold your thought about liking me, because I don't like you anymore. I'm going with Shiloh. And Shiloh speaks about how, everyone has a different time that they, make their decisions within this process. She was taken aback that he said that he chooses her, but her speed is a lot slower. She wants to basically date around and experience the full process. So this actually makes Tommy question, was he being serious when he said this? Like, where's his head at? And she's like, no, he's serious. I really think that he meant it. Like, he wasn't just saying it just to say it. And I just feel like I have to, go back and maybe watch a few of the older episodes just to see, when did people start dwindling down and focusing on certain people. Because, honestly, I feel like Tyrone is giving me that vibe of, y'all remember when Chris did that season with, what was that girl named Naya? And they just kind of locked into each other. I think that he thought that is what was going to happen with him and Shiloh. He was going to choose her, she was going to choose him, and they were going to lock in and ride this out to the end. Because y'all remember how on the past seasons, you would have couples that just kind of locked in together and then they would ride it out to the end. I feel like that's the vibe that he thought that he was going to get. But I think that this cast, they kind of believe in, no, we're actually going to date around and see what's really out there and give everybody a fair chance. I mean, I can't lie, it did throw me off at one point because Shiloh started to cry. I said, oh, girl, what is happening? Let's go ahead and wrap this up into a bow. So let's go ahead and talk about the end of this episode. You had Courtney meeting up with Corey. And then you also have, what is her name? Shiloh, she's meeting up with Tyrone. I mean, I thought, Sean had a chance at going home. But nope, he's living to fight another day. So, in Tyrone and Shiloh's conversation, Shiloh has let him know, you're not ready to love. He's okay with it. He's like, I wouldn't change anything. I said, yeah, he's going to continue to call her. He's probably blowing up her line right now. Wouldn't be surprised. Just because he seems to be completely smitten by her. Now, let's go ahead and jump on over to Corey and Courtney. And Courtney is pissed off. She has an attitude. She's mad that he's been lying and all this stuff. And honestly, I kind of feel like, sure, he wasn't fully truthful, but again, he's dating multiple people at the same time. I don't know why all y'all are so hung up on the fact that he's doing one nice thing over here, but he's doing something else over there. Like, listen, y'all all are dating each other, so somebody feelings gonna get hurt. He already knew he was going home. Honestly, I feel like Corey has been counting down the days till when they're going to kick him out. That's what I think. I really think he has a calendar on the wall where he just puts an X for every day that he survived on this show. But yeah, baby boy is going home. She was so pissed off. She left. And that was the end of the episode. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And I will talk to you in the next one. Bye, guys.